I think one thing we always track is the child mortality because it's probably the closest proxy, for the progress that we're making as a human race in reducing some of the fundamental challenges. So the world has made huge progress, really halved it, in the last, 20 something years. And especially in that context, China is probably the leader, right, in setting the pace for such progress. And therefore, for the China context, this is also the most relevant number.
You're in charge of China. So what would you say is the biggest challenge in the context of the Gates Foundation for China right now?
I think there are two issues. One is really China itself is facing a lot of the same challenges the world is facing as well, right? Despite the huge progress China has made, where I think this is where the major focus of most media, both in China and in the world. But China still has about now 50 million people living under extreme poverty, and that's a huge number. This is a big challenge we're trying to, starting from this year, to support as well in China itself, in its own effort in attacking extreme poverty. The second piece of work we're really doing in the theme is really how do we kind of work to support China to become a more effective global development partner for the world. So China has been a bit of an outsider, for especially sort of the development world, right? So because people think about development as aid, mostly driven by developed countries, and China is sort of in between, right? So on the if you look at, of course, it's the second largest GDP, but if you look at per capita, is I think ranked number 83. Right, so on the one hand is is the second largest economy. On the other hand, is really by far the largest developing country as well. Of course, there's different culture, different political systems. So how do you then, in that broader context, work with China to be an effective partner in this global issue? I think that's something we're working towards as well.
At this point, there are some countries that are questioning the real advantage in thinking globally. Here, U.S. President Donald Trump is considering a 26% budget cut in global health spending. And the U.S. is by far the largest contributor to these issues. So what would that mean if Congress were to approve that budget? What would it mean for the progress that's been made?
Well, we believe it would be disastrous, if that budget cut get approved and put in reality. The reason a few folds. One is the world is actually way more connected than people think, right? So it's not a domestic issue. It's not about sacrificing, U.S. domestic interest for the world. It's really around, kind of solving an issue as a responsible nation, for the world. And I think that's why, the connectivity of the world is far beyond what people imagine. So there's basically a shared fate, right, of humankind. I think that's one. On second angle, I think even if you put in the sort of a selfish sense, disease has no borders, right? So if there's no effort in putting disease at control at the global level or outside of the country, it will hurt people everywhere. No visa, there's no passport required. So even you take a very self-interested view, you won't be in anybody's benefit to stop fighting against those conditions.
Can you pinpoint some of the areas that would be most vulnerable to the withdrawal of that funding?
Absolutely. Yeah, so I think, for example, to take one example as mentioned in the report is on HIV, right? So HIV has already, we have made huge progress. I would say, since 2005, we had a huge decline of mortality rate. But we actually did modeling, right? IHME did this work to say if we were to reduce the budget for HIV by 10%, this could be as many as 5.6 million more deaths by 2030. Right. So if you look at that, those are not just code numbers, those are actually real lives behind it.
This report really shows us how much progress we've made globally. Are you optimistic that the upward trajectory will continue, or are you worried that some of these countries will pull back on funding and will lose some of those gains?
I think I'm kind of split. On the one hand, yes, I am not optimistic. So the whole spirit of the report is to say progress is possible. And is real, but at the same time, it's not inevitable. And then so if we don't, again, keep stepping on the gas, both in putting on more resources, more voices, and more ingenuity, right? Then we might lose it. So I think yes, I am optimistic, but I'm also calling for more hard work and more resources towards it.